Sup, Rotten? Apple just backtracked. iOS 26 is launching with a bold new design called Liquid Glass, but after the backlash, it seemed that they watered it down. This isn't just about refinement, it's about Apple becoming the one thing they never were. Reactive. On June 9th, Apple unveiled its bold new look for the upcoming release of all of its OSs across the board called Liquid Glass. It was glossy, layered, and quite pretty. Since then, they have been releasing beta versions as they refine iOS ahead of its public release in a few months. But very recently, Beta 3 released, and it seems that Apple softened it. Literally, the translucent gloss has now changed in a serious way. Liquid Glass now looks like frosted glass. This isn't just a UI change, it's a sign that Apple, the company that used to ignore backlash, is now reacting to it. And it's a bigger deal than people realize. But not as big as a deal as you checking if you're subscribed yet. You don't want to risk not seeing each other ever again, right? Right? Liquid Glass was the headline design shift for iOS 26. Everything felt fluid. Background shimmered with a real-time blur that responded to your motion. It gave iOS a sense of depth and elegance that felt almost surreal. Apple described it as a way to make the UI feel alive, with refractions mimicking curved glass or even water. This was Apple flexing its design muscles again, offering something that no one was expecting. And it looks incredible, at least until Beta 3. In the latest developer beta, Apple scaled it back. Control center, lock screen panels, and navigation bars all lost that watery shimmer. Now, they look more like classic iOS 13 style blurs. Frosted, not liquid. Why, you may be asking? Well, developers and testers complained about legibility. Some said it was hard to read, others said it looked too distracting. So in response, Apple seems to have changed it. Not subtly, but completely. This kind of quick reversal is rare for Apple. I thought people sharing their opinions about a move Apple makes, either positive or negative, was sort of the whole point. How could the designers work so hard on this design for so long just to buckle because of a few comments on Twitter? Now, I'm not going to say that this design doesn't need work. It looks fantastic, but some people's concerns are definitely valid, but not to the point of an absolute overhaul. Just some honest tweaking that also doesn't have to be on their end. Allowing users to have the option to adjust the liquid glass ratio also works, which they can then add in the accessibility settings. Apple's lack of commitment here only makes me want to go back to a previous version where they had a backbone. Well, it's a good thing that the sponsor, Dr.Fone by Wondershare, exists, which allows me to do just that. So let's say you hopped into the iOS 26 beta train because you wanted to flex that new liquid glass UI, only to realize that betas are betas for a reason, and stability is a bit beyond your comfort level. Or maybe you just missed the full gloss look from beta 2 before Apple put the OS in the freezer. That's where Dr.Fone comes in. It's an all-in-one toolkit for managing your iPhone beyond what Apple usually lets you touch. With it, you can downgrade from the latest iOS beta to a stable version without jailbreaking and without losing data by backing up your stuff. Seriously, it's like being able to time travel between iOS versions. Want iOS 18 back because iOS 26 nuked your battery life? Done. And here's how simple it is. You download Dr.Fone on your PC or Mac, head to System Repair, plug in your iPhone. There you can back up your iPhone and choose what firmware you want to upgrade or downgrade to. Hit start, sit back, and pretend you're smarter than Apple's engineers for a few minutes. So if you want to take more control of your device with ease, check it out in the description below, and huge thanks to Dr.Fone for sponsoring this video. But here's where it really stinks. Liquid Glass wasn't just a cool new look. It was Apple's first step towards syncing the iPhone with the spatial future. Think about it. The Vision Pro's entire interface is built on glass, depth, and light interaction. It's layered, responsive, and immersive. And when Liquid Glass showed up in iOS 26, that felt intentional. Like Apple was finally building a visual language that connected the iPhone to the rest of Apple's devices, sharing this seamless, futuristic design language. And then Beta 3 hit, and it was like someone put a frosted window film over that vision. Now, instead of seeing depth and shimmer, you see compliance. And it still doesn't look bad, don't get me wrong, but it no longer feels fresh. They basically took one of the boldest visual shifts iOS has made in a decade and said, actually, let's go back to 2019. And the internet noticed. People started saying Apple nerfed Liquid Glass like it was a Call of Duty patch note. You rarely see people memeing about Apple removing a design element. Usually it's about features or bugs, but this hit people in the aesthetic core, because whether they loved it or hated it, Liquid Glass made them feel something. And that's the bigger point here. Design is language, especially for Apple. Liquid Glass said, this is where we're headed, here's a glimpse of the future. Frosted Glass says, you complained, we listened. Apple used to refine, they didn't retreat. They didn't test out an idea, panic at the comments, and then pull a U-turn by the next beta. This change feels less like a design iteration and more like PR management. It's like Apple's afraid to commit unless everyone claps, which is weird because they used to be the one holding the clapperboard. They used to be the ones telling us what good was. And that's what's so disappointing. Liquid glass wasn't just a look, it was a mood. It was Apple's design language finally speaking confidently again. But instead of refining the accent, they switched back to plain old Helvetica. Now think back. iOS 7 was mocked for being flat and cartoony. They stuck with it and it easily became the industry standard in terms of smartphone UI and design. I mean, imagine if they did that with the iOS 7 icons. And Johnny Ive would have thrown his freshly pressed linen shirt into the ocean. Apple's identity was built on a sense of knowing better. We think this is the future and you'll get used to it. That confidence, that sometimes arrogance, was a key part of their brand. So what changed? Recently, I've been sensing something with Apple that I don't think I ever have, and that's fear. Fear of backlash, public reception, and government strong-arming. Opening the App Store due to EU pressure seemed to be opening Pandora's box for them compromising in a way that they didn't do before. First, it was the disaster around Apple Intelligence, and now they're retreating on liquid glass. Not because of performance or accessibility, but aesthetics. They listened to the loudest voices on social media and changed their design accordingly. This is Apple with its finger in the wind, designing with Reddit in mind, not in spite of it. When Apple becomes just another company making safe design decisions, it loses what made it special. Liquid glass was ambitious. It was different. It wasn't perfect, but the Apple we remember would have refined it, not backed away from it. The moment Apple starts asking for approval before innovating, it stops leading. And if they'll walk back a design as core as this, what else are they willing to compromise? Because this is still in beta, I have hope that they will revert the change and continue to tweak and refine the design in a way that they see fit, despite what everyone else may be saying on the outside. As Steve Jobs once said, it's not the customer's job to know what they want, and that stands true here. It is your job to figure out what they're going to want before they do. Prime example, when the AirPods first came out, I thought it was the most ridiculous thing in the world, but now I can't live without it. Stand your ground, Apple. Stirring up this industry that has been way too safe and boring over the years is something that I feel like we all need, even if we don't know it yet. What do you think about the change? Is it an upgrade or a downgrade? Let me know your thoughts in the comments. And if you'd like to support the channel by purchasing a wallpaper or two, you can check them out in the description below. Alternatively, you can become a patron along with my Rod and Rod and Pro subscribers, Vasco, Francisco Beck, Daniel, Sour Kiri, JT, Carbon Ranger, and Miss Game. Thank you all for the support as it keeps me dropping videos consistently, and thank you viewers for watching. If you want to see more of me, you know what to do. Well, with whatever decision Apple decides to make, when the new OS officially becomes available worldwide, I have a couple bold changes in the works that I think looks great and that I'm confident you guys would like too. And unlike Apple, I'ma stand on it regardless.